Welcome folks. This is 2 Cents Wanted. Happy Dragon Age Day and welcome to the channel. So today's video is, as you've seen from the title, about redeeming Solas, but it's a little bit more than that. This was fully intended to be a full deep dive into the character of Solas, but just scheduling issues, work, stuff like that kind of didn't allow us all to come together. So I really condensed my script into just me talking about the character, my experiences, and what I think the community is missing about him. Or maybe not so missing, because there seems to be this counterculture that has sprung up about Solas, calling him racist, or just calling him a character that isn't likable, or saying things like the character would not be as popular if they were a female, which I disagree with. Today's video is just talking about that, and I'm going to be using a tweet from someone I had discussion with on Twitter about Solas, and they kind of gave me this really cool perspective on it, and I got permission to use the tweet. So with that, this is my 2 cents. So if you expected this just to be like some big I love Solas fest, then sorry to tell you, I was not a fan, nor did I romance him immediately. See, when I first met Solas, he assisted with closing the rift in the valley like he did with everyone. Now, off rip, anybody can instantly dislike the guy. If you choose to ask the dwarf, who is hated by Chantry folk, if he is with said racist Chantry, then Solas will give you sort of a snide remark about your question, and since that can be your first interaction with him, I can clearly see how people would instantly be turned off by him. For me, this is exactly what happened. I didn't know Dragon Age lore at the time, and I was seriously like,
who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
So like after that, Solas kind of continues to be like a know-it-all. He knows about the rifts and what the player character needs to do, all this other stuff, and he kind of keeps this like Poindexter persona, and it doesn't ever leave. He speaks as if he's reading a poem or telling you a fantastical old tale, and that can kind of feel a bit pretentious. He has weird ideas about the Fade and the world, and I just thought demons were evil. And if, like you're me, this was your first dip into the ever-descending elves all the way down nature of Dragon Age, it can all be a bit much to sift through lore-wise. So mostly through Haven, I never really considered Solas like a friend. He was a lot like Vivienne. He was just kind of a person I traveled with who I kind of didn't see eye to eye with. When interacting with him initially, for whatever reason I needed to, I kind of came at him annoyed most of the time. Sometimes I talked to him to hear the interesting stories he could tell, but again, I didn't know much, so I thought most of the things that came from the Fade were just dreams and not real. But then I started to kind of like see his humanity, for lack of a better word anyway. He has this like private fireside chat after Corypheus absolutely wrecks us at Haven. It was nice and quiet. It was a secular moment that completely countered the Chantry singing. Man, that still haunts me. He divulged a pretty dangerous secret, and then he essentially guides us to this amazing place. Skyhold, the castle. For me, despite the frigid mountains and dour mood, like I warmed up to the elf guy. I wanted to talk all the time after that. I no longer approached him with skepticism or annoyance, and his humanity started to show through when he went on a mission to save not an elf, not some old childhood human friend who liked elves, but a spirit. Something someone wouldn't look twice at, or if they did, they'd realize it was a spirit, ran screaming, or tried to banish it. I don't know, for me, like, I saw a person who saw value in life, and then he wanted to outright murder people for torturing his friend, which I understood. I felt and I agreed, like, I understand wanting that vengeance, but I didn't let him do it because I didn't know him at the time. I was just getting to know him, and he was a friend. I didn't want to send him down that path, so I softened on him. Things changed after that. I took Solas everywhere. I wanted to hear his opinion on a random dwarven ruin, or to argue with the Iron Bull, or play chess, argue about philosophy and choice. It was a beautiful budding friendship. So imagine my shock when I hear someone's going to betray me. I didn't know who, and lucky me, I didn't get spoiled for that, but like what happened to me later when I played Dragon Age 2, I got suckered in by the mage's best friend. Now, I did suspect him. Bringing Solas into the Fade made me suspect him just a bit, the way he reacted to the Black City, but that could have been hand-waved away by his interest in the Fade, him helping Cole calm down in the Fade, and even earlier in the game he did the same thing. But again, he knows a lot about the Fade and spirits. But after that, I got a dialogue of Solas telling Cole about how he never thought to see it happen, talking about becoming flesh and blood from spirit. And Cole responded saying, "When did you see it before?" And Solas denies that he said that. But I personally had noted that Cole doesn't often listen with his ears, he listens with his heart. He doesn't always respond to what is said, but what is in your head. And then the pieces kind of started falling into place. Something's really off. I paid attention to his comments about Bull. Nobody knows exactly who he is. He has displeasure with the Kunari. And for the briefest of times, tinfoil hat, holy crap, the Maker is an elf. But seriously, my whole perception of the character changed when I saw how much we agreed about people and free will. When I heard him speak to Cassandra and she asked Solas what he believes in, I thought he would have said something about the Evernurse. But no, he just says cause and effect, wisdom as its own reward, and the inherent right of all free-willed people to exist. I couldn't dislike someone who had beliefs so similar to mine. He believed these things truly. Solas doesn't take pleasure in ending people's lives, and he's always been able to admit when he's wrong. So let's talk about the awkward G word in the room. Solas wants to commit genocide. Now, I am in no way downplaying what Solas is going to do. What he wants to do does meet the qualifications to be considered genocide, but just stating genocide as a blanket statement is a bit disingenuous. I just want you to consider the Dreadwolf's perspective. This is where that tweet I mentioned earlier comes in. Now, I asked permission to use it, and the views I express in this video are not representative of the person, so just remember that. Now, clearly this isn't an exact one-to-one comparison, but I mean, not all comparisons are. It does, however, convey the point perfectly. This isn't some homicidal maniac who seeks the death of every human. This isn't a supremacist hell-bent on some crusade. He is trying to save his people. How many demons or spirits were we destroying when we changed the timelines back to what it was? Does it not matter because we were saving human lives? What if in Hushed Whispers things were different? What if they were the way Solas intended them to be? Elves ruling, the Evernurse locked away, mages running free. Yet humans were low class, not treated horribly, but not given a fair shakedown. Would we still seek the amulet to go back in time to stop that from happening? Why would you? How many elves' lives have been ruined and destroyed by humans and their supremacy? Or is elven plight an afterthought because there are bigger issues? If you antagonize Solas and speak to him after Halam Sharal and ask him why he hasn't helped the elves, he admits he can't do anything for them, but he points out that you, the Inquisitor, could make a push for it, but ultimately your efforts would be fruitless because the world puts societal comfort over the immorality of having slaves. I'm not saying that Solas is right. If I agree with him completely, the title would be Solas did nothing wrong. But I doubt if humans were enslaved by the elves because they had every aspect of their identity forcibly ripped from them, that you would be fine with that. And then a friend per se wanted to free humans by giving them back what they had lost, we humans wouldn't be upset about that choice. We could say we would try to make things better after the choice, but I mean, that's just trying to rationalize it after the fact. It is our bias toward being human, and it's understandable. I mean, I myself would love to know what language or dialect my ancestors spoke, what cultures and stories from Africa that I missed out on, that were forcibly ripped from my people. Solas, upon awakening, saw everyone as tranquil, beings who could only dream of the Fade, an entire portion of themselves locked away forever. His actions in Masked Empire we would consider brutal. Killing his friend is just horrible. We all see this and think it's unnecessary. And for a time, so did I. But Solas realized that ultimately this was going to be his fate, him and Felasan. Once Felasan saw them as people, he was going to try to stop Solas. Their fight was inevitable. Again, Solas takes no pleasure in this. He doesn't want to kill his friend, and Cole gives us a clear picture of how Solas felt. He says,
"A slow arrow breaks in the sad wolf's jaws."
Solas took no pleasure in killing his friend, but Felasan's murder sets Solas on a path of realization, and I believe that redeeming him, or at least convincing him without killing him, is the end of that path. Or I mean, you could try to cut it short and kill a god. Whether you romance, befriend, or antagonize him, you see that he begins to see every free will creature as people. Not just wild Qunari dragon beasts, or helpless fallen dwarves, or even prideful destructive humans, but just people with flaws. The biggest aspect that is forgotten, or at least I don't feel people sympathize enough with, is that Solas is everything. He created the world the characters inhabit. He made a mistake that was supposed to save the world. His mistake snowballs into the current world that everyone lives in. Not only did he destroy everything he loved, but it caused far more pain than he intended. And all he wants to do is right that wrong, just like the Inquisitor did in Hushed Whispers. So I'll end with this. Solas, by his own admission, doesn't know if tearing down the veil will kill everyone who isn't elven. But even if it does kill a lot of people, he just accepts this as a necessary outcome. He early on gives a description of what the world would be like without the veil, and I'll let him explain what he's talking about.
Without it, imagine if spirits entered freely. The Fade was not a place one went, but a state of nature like the wind.
I don't know if I can imagine that.
Try. Imagine if spirits were not a rarity, but a part of our natural world. Like a fast-flowing river. Yes, it can drown careless children, but it can also carry a merchant's goods or grind a miller's flour. That is what the world could be if the veil were not present. For better or worse.
So with that, my friends, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you for watching again. Have a safe and wonderful day. Happy Dragon Age Day. Bye.